Slauter Xstroyes. Brent and Paul of Slauter Xstroyes, welcome to 69 Faces of Rock. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
Excellent. So we're going to cover the whole spectrum here. How did the band get started?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, kind of a childhood thing. Just came together through, beating people in school and,
But you answered the ad there, right? You answered the ad for me and that was Naj days, but turned into Slauter Xstroyes.
Well, what really happened is how I met you, and you might not know this story, but what really happened is Naj played at the talent show at our high school, and afterwards we went to the Italian U-boat, which they would close and then serve us young kids alcohol. And we were there with this young lady named Valerie Clark, and she says, you guys need a bass player, because we played without a bass player at that time. And I'm like looking at her like, yeah, you know a bass player. And then she got me in touch with you somehow. And
All the girls know a bass player.
So that's how I met you, though, is through Valerie Clark. She turned me onto you somehow, and I went over.
I thought it was an ad when I remember you calling me one time. Through an ad.
Well, you might have had an ad in the paper, but Valerie Clark gave me your phone number, and then I, came over to your house with a cassette tape, and then you played your bass. I was like, man, this guy ain't gonna want to play with us. He's like, I'm like, we were more like a. I mean, we were still kind of technical a little bit, but we were, a little bit more like suburban, punkish or something a little bit more. But
yeah, the birth of this band is pretty confusing because it goes through so many different bands from Naj to White Witch, and we left to do White Witch. The one drummer, half the Naj left, and he came and he played with White Witch for a little bit. Right?
Yeah, and
then from White Witch, the guitar player Jerry Klein came over and jammed with Slauter Xstroyes. Oh, actually, we all sat in the.
Yeah, Janet and Jerry invented the name in Ed Morvik's basement. I think we were probably.
Yeah, we all did.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get to
probably.
That. So once the two of you got together, like, what kind of music did you want to play? What was the plan?
I don't think we discussed that.
Mm-hmm. And there's somebody calling us.
We didn't really have we just did what we did,
I mean, I don't know. I still to this day don't analyze what I'm doing.
I probably brought a little bit more of the progressive element to it, and we just started combining riffs. And,
So how long did it take before you kind of realized that you created a style that you want or something?
I don't think we ever realized that. From my vantage point, it was just.
Nor did anybody else. Even the record company goes, I don't quite get this.
When we were young, I mean, in 1985, when we would play out, people would literally not applaud because they had no idea what just happened.
I remember those shows. And I'm looking, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, aren't you feeling it?
Yes.
Yeah, at the whale.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Actually, I live right by the whale in River Grove, very close.
Okay, got it.
So,
all right.
So I would catch a lot of those bands in the early days. What do you think made you stand out in those early days? Like, in your mind, even though the people didn't applaud because they didn't get it yet, but in your own mind, what was it that made that band special to you?
Music and John Stewart.
Yeah, I mean,
he was very eccentric. He would come out in all kinds of crazy. He'd either paint his face, or come out these big fur boots and hockey pads, and
I mean, you just kind of knew. I mean, we never didn't realize. We just knew that it was a little different. I mean, we weren't trying to be different. It threw the dice, and these people were there, and
nobody in our area, at least, I know there's probably bands throughout the world that were similar to us. Like Tension and Psychotic Waltz was another one mentioned. But around our area, it was pretty mainstream. So when we played it, we stuck out like a sore thumb. So.
Well, plus most of the other bands that were playing around the neighborhood were out doing all covers. So we would go to Battle of Bands, and the band before us would open up with Rock You Like a Hurricane, and we would open up with Metal's No Sin. And then when John would walk out with his executioner's mask and his axe in his hand and let out that scream,
chainsaws and everything else.
Well, but that's the beauty of it. I mean, you had something original going on. I mean, people might have not caught up to it.
Yeah, we didn't even know. Yeah,
but
John was flamboyant as hell, man.
Yeah.
He was crazy. It was amazing.
You mentioned the name, Slauter Xstroyes. Like, that sounds very unusual. How did this come about?
Go ahead, you go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, we were all hanging out in our drummer's basement and rolling a big fatty, and just spitting out a bunch of names. It originally came out that Slaughter and Xstroyes was, I don't even remember who it might have been me, might have been someone else. We're just kind of Slauter Xstroyes. We were kind of like, what's Slaughter and Xstroyes sounds kind of weird, and we're like, what's Pig Latin for destroy? And it came like Xstroyes or something like that. So we just kind of refined it to Xstroyes. It rolled off the tongue at that time.
I think it had definitely something to do with chemicals.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We didn't want to, at that time, we're like, didn't want to worry about like
We didn't want to call
copyright
ourselves. We didn't want to call ourselves Slaughter.
We're like, nobody's going to come up with that.
We didn't want to call it Slaughter and Destroy, so somehow it became Slaughter Xstroyes.
In the Gara da Vida way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a new
The
name.
80s,
A
man.
lot of bands got there in a Gara da Vida way.
Right.
So tell me about your early shows. What was that like when you were on stage? Like you already mentioned a few things, but what kind of experience were people, subjected to?
The best way I can say it for me is it was always a little weird because we would play and a song would be over and the audience would make very little sound. Then when we had our album release party, it was at a banquet hall called Condesa del Mar. We had 500 copies of a record. I brought one box of records. There was 900 people in there. They didn't applaud much in between songs and stuff, but when I walked off the stage and
They actually did. I mean, I got
were
the
they?
videotape of
Oh,
it.
were they?
Yeah, they were a rowdy
Maybe we just
crowd.
couldn't hear it. It couldn't.
Yeah.
It always felt like they didn't get us. But I walked out with my box of albums, and all 50 were gone and like evaporated immediately. I mean, I guess because there were $5. So back then, you could make an album and sell it for $5. I mean, we probably should have. I don't know. I don't know how we made it. Now you got to sell them for 20 because they cost you 11 or something.
You go on eBay and those albums for $5 are five with a couple zeros on them.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the original for like $1,500 on.
That's
on
crazy.
eBay. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, God bless them.
I think I still have one of the original vinyls.
Really?
Yeah.
When we played at Mojo's in Joliet, some guy drove and went to the Crow's Nest in Crest Hill and got one brand new sealed for $37 on the way to that show.
Wow.
Would you believe that? What was the local Chicago scene like at that time?
Well,
I thought it was kind of cool, actually. I mean, we had bands like E-Trove out in that time.
Paradox,
Hammer-On, Paradox.
Pirates Rain,
Damien Thorne.
Pirates Rain, yeah, good friends. We played a lot of shows with them guys, and so it was pretty cool for metal scene and doing originals compared to what it is today. I mean, say now it's all tribute bands and stuff like that, and very few metal bands that are still in the circuit in Chicago, in our area. But I don't know. I thought back to that. I loved the scene back then. It was it was competition, but it was healthy competition. We were all having fun and a lot of big hair and.
Yeah, there was definitely. I had a good old mullet.
Yeah.
I would have to say, just to add to that, I think there's probably a little more cool music out there around Illinois and in Chicago than we notice because I'm older, so I'm not at the club all the time. But you go to Reggie's, there's always some cool shit going on at some clubs.
Better locally though.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure that I know all of that.
Well, there's a couple. I mean,
yeah.
Witch Hammer and Witch Slayer and.
But those guys, isn't that's from back in the day?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, they're still together though. Yeah.
they got it back together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Great record. So by 1985, right, you had your first album, Winterkill. You want to show it? How do you look back at that record?
For me, that's like going to the tattoo parlor and getting a timestamp on your. That's a moment in time. We took out a loan from my mom. Got us a loan at the bank for $5,000, and we paid for 40 hours of studio time and 500 pressing of the record for $5,000, and we recorded that thing in 40 hours.
Wow.
Mixed, recorded everything is 40 hours studio time on the head. I mean that got. So of course I look back at it and I say, well, if you listen to it, it has a sound, and for the amount of time we put into it, there's no other band that has that sound. And then the 8-string bass and the way that worked out on there, of course it's dark, but it's
Yeah, I mean, it's a good album for that time. I mean, we differ on this. I personally would love to redo it. today's standards, and I'd love to. I think there's some really cool music on that album. It's great, but just to hear, just to maybe introduce the younger generations that are used to more produced albums, but we differ on that. It'll probably never happen, but.
What was the recording process like back then?
I mean, I don't know if we actually knew what the recording process was like back then. Meaning, I mean, I can tell you what we did is, I mean, we walked into the studio and the guy said, set your drum set up in that room over there. My amp was set up like outside the drum room alongside of a wall facing, just along the wall with a microphone in front of it. And I don't remember it's.
I was in some bass amp in a little room
and we just stood there. We could all see each other, and we
recorded it live. Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much just.
No click tracks, nothing.
I didn't even know there was such.
I think we tried to do click tracks today, or it took years ago.
Well, you'd have to, in order to do click tracks to most of our music, you'd have to really know music theory and how time divisions work to be able to program that into. I mean, you would need a guy who really knows how to do that.
And then you lose the feel of it too, though. We found that I just lose it. Trying to click it out to
Can you imagine listening to some of those old Iron Maiden records if they recorded them to a click track? That'd be insane.
In many ways,
you can hear the tempo change. It's part of the emotion.
Yeah.
In many ways, the feel is much more important than technicality of it.
Of course. That's what's on that record.
Yeah, and that's why I still like it.
That's what's on that record.
How was that album received? I mean, it was an independent release,
I don't know if,
20 years later, it received really well.
I know, right? But at the time.
And at that time, we were trying to shop the labels and stuff, and they, labels didn't get it, Metal Blade and all that. So we just kept pushing it the best we could at the time, and played out and sold our product, and
we weren't. I don't. From my vantage point, none of us were really all that entrepreneurial or really knew what to do. So I mean, we needed somebody that could guide us through all of that. So, but I mean, we never, because of our unusualness, we never managed to attract somebody that really wanted to come in and step in and help. And so, I mean, or if they were there, we were.
Well, we had a couple managers here and there, but Judith.
Yeah, she said your guitar is ugly. I says you don't understand metal.
She was a friend of John's, and
I'm just saying
I was bringing in a manager, and it didn't work out too well.
She wanted she was gonna. I mean, I understand the idea of a look or whatever, but I mean, the guitar is it's more like a weapon than it is it's a tool.
Yeah.
Of course I could have a pretty guitar. I mean, you want to shoot a video, I could play a pretty guitar, but when we're playing it, I'm going to use the tool, the tool that does the job. It was just funny. But I don't know that she actually knew what to do either, though.
No.
I think it didn't go with the times. At that time, the MTV kind of metal was, big, and you were still playing the traditional metal, which, was completely on the other side of that spectrum, and trying to make that agree was an
well, it wasn't
impossible thing.
mainstream either.
Yeah.
We never fit in mainstream.
So back then when we were kids, I think we all thought something bigger was going to happen. So the little things that were knocking on the door, we probably kind of ignored.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we thought, oh yeah, major label, this and that. When what we really needed is something small that, could you just imagine if we actually put out one record every year since then, or one every 2 years?
Well, then we'd probably be touring the fest and all that stuff.
I'm just saying, there's no chance if we would have actually went on the road and actually could get along and enjoy this process, there's no chance that we wouldn't have been, we wouldn't have gotten a little more popular.
In fact, that brings me to the next question. Was there ever like a small tour, like at least locally throughout Illinois, maybe Indiana, Michigan, that you might have done?
Yeah, we played Milwaukee and the outskirts in Indiana. Mostly, I don't know any other.
It's just mostly weekend warrior stuff. I mean, if you're playing music, if you really are gonna play music, you make the mistake of getting that first job and having like a little money and get used to having things.
Yeah, we tried to avoid staying just in Illinois. We wanted to get out to a couple.
We definitely needed management and stuff to get to any other level.
So what happens next? Tell me about the various recordings you guys did, because nothing came out until the next album, but you guys were recording. So what was happening?
Well, one of the tracks are on the new release of the Winterkill album through. I don't know if it's what the hell's the name of the record?
The studio? No, I don't know the name of the
They just released it, but sorry, forgot the name.
It happens.
One Records or something like that. I don't know, or
Were they from a? They're
Alone Records.
Is that from a USA or are they?
No, Europe.
Okay, that's fine.
So they released it, and we put one of the tracks. We did two songs, I think, right? One didn't get finished yet. The other one was Psycho Killer, which we put on the new edition of the Winterkill album. It's a bonus track, and like a live. I don't know. There's a live one of Witch's Honor. That's never been recorded, but it's a live version. It sounds pretty good, so we put that on there too. So we only got one track that still doesn't have vocals on it that never got finished. It'd be cool. It's a killer track, and we've been talking about doing some more stuff. But
I think as far as you kind of asked about recording, but I mean, like Winterkill. I mean, Metal's No Sin and Battle Axe. Those songs were actually recorded before Winterkill, and then after Winterkill. I think we went to the same studio that we recorded Metal's No Sin and Battle Axe, and that's where we laid down Dignified Disaster. I think we were doing like Packing a Pistol. Did we do that with Dave Bono too?
I thought we did too. I don't know where we're at with those.
I don't think that ever got finished with John or whatever. Maybe he didn't like that version of it or whatnot. I don't know what happened, but then
I think we ran out of money.
Whatever. That happened.
That's because a lot of Free the Beast is a lot of like kind of unfinished. Those are really never fully mixed. I mean, they're roughly mixed, and then
we'll get to that a little bit more. So after Winterkill, how do you think the band was progressing musically, in your opinion?
Oh boy, I don't know that.
I mean, it was getting crazier.
It was getting crazier.
We would practice 3 nights a week, and there wouldn't be a day where we weren't writing a new tune every fucking next practice.
I mean, we only have 2 albums worth of recorded material like that. I mean, of course, people have our basement tapes and stuff by now. But we had like, I think Dennis Bergeron and myself, we sat down and counted them from my garbage bag full of cassette tapes. We counted 57 or 58 songs, all of which are mostly 6 minutes or plus long. A lot of these songs.
Mostly instrumentals with no vocals, but.
Right, there's a lot of, I mean, we had quite a few that had vocals, or we'd had little pieces of songs that weren't quite all finished and stuff, but I don't think we really knew what, we never, I mean, still don't try to figure out what direction I'm going. I just do what
happened.
We were just a writing machine back then. I mean, we
more
were
like
writing
spin art.
nonstop.
Art comes out.
Eventually, the band broke up in what, 1989? What led to that breakup?
Well, that'd be me. It got to a point. I think we were trying to get really hone in. I mean, the way I saw it is we were trying to hone in our, John. He would kind of like go out and he would just embellish different ways live. He'd never really sing the stuff quite the way the album was, and we used to bitch about that. We're trying to get more professional and just sound like the album. It's already recorded. Sound like it. So we were trying to hold things in. He was getting a little off the deep end as far as I was concerned. It didn't seem like we were trying to get anywhere, so I had an opportunity to join another band, and I left. It was a band called Squadron. They were like, they had management. And at that time, like, okay, I'm going to band. It's got management and everything like that. Didn't really turn out to be much at all as usual, and I really regret leaving the band at that time. I should have stuck with it, and wish I didn't do that, but it's, regrets in life,
Who knows what was going to happen anyway.
True.
It's.
And he got in, and he actually went on tour with his band Johnny Chainsaw and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan showed up. Jonathan showed up. It was Rip that I did that with, but John Stewart showed up at a show at the Avalon when I was in Johnny Chainsaw. He came up to me and he kissed me and shook my wife's hand and said, "PK, you got really good at the guitar." And I'm saying. In Johnny Chainsaw, I was playing punk, like 3-chord songs. They were, it was a little more technical punk, a little bit. But I mean, I was like, John didn't notice what was going on when we were playing together. I always wonder what he meant by that. But it's just funny.
So now, 1998 comes, and Free the Beast is released. You want to show that? That's the second record. Tell me about that album.
So that
and we kind of
you can add to this, but I mean that's really kind of a compilation album.
Yeah.
It's we recorded like 6 songs or 7 songs at a place called Solid Stone in Hoffman Estates. Farther Than Yesterday was recorded separately at that studio. Like we brought a smaller drum set on that, so you can hear that song sounds different than the rest a little bit if you really pay attention to detail. But I mean, we recorded 5 or 6 songs at Solid Sound. I don't even know if we ever really finished mixing them. You know, but
Burning Rock too. That was never really finished mixed or anything.
right. Well, I don't. John wasn't. I don't know. I don't know what part of that. What somebody didn't. I guess John just probably never finished actually doing what he does.
I still remember we ran out of money.
That's what it usually comes down to.
Today it's so much easier because we all record at home and stuff like that. But back then we had to pay for the studio, and you're all kids, and
Yeah, maybe we
trying
did.
to work and do the job, band at the same time. And
John sang Winterkill in 6 hours studio time, literally the whole record done 6 hours. In and on Free to Beast, I would say he probably spent 40 hours tracking his vocals on every song because he was trying to perfect something all the time, and he was quite a musical. I mean, he went to MIT or for vocal, and so he understood theory and all that stuff. So he's always searching for something. So he would spend a lot of time after that, and we probably ran out of money while that was going on.
That's always what it comes down to back then.
Yeah.
Every band, big or small, running out of money.
yeah, I mean you're paying like $50 an hour nowadays, though.
So what was happening with the two of you during the downtime away from Slaughter Xstroyes?
Well, I mean, just playing music with
Different bands.
Right now I have my band Reflexicon, and that was Johnny Chainsaw, and I played in the Gruesomes, and had a band called Special Ed for a little while, and played in this band Ripped from Rockford for a little while. So
Then after doing all my stuff, I kind of, after 3 years, I left Squadron, and then I was trying to gather the Slaughter Xstroyes, but he was kind of busy at the time, and then I got Randy Barron from Tyrant's Reign, and Vernon Voss, and Tony Rios, and drums. I don't remember who else was playing guitar, but yeah, it was kind of like a remake of Slaughter Xstroyes. We realized it wasn't Slaughter Xstroyes, so we changed the band to Winterkill, which that's where that came from. But that's kind of what and I was doing that for about 8 years, so that's kind of where all that time went.
In 2009, you guys come back as Slaughter Xstroyes. How? what sparked this reunion?
I mean, that was.
well, I would have to say that I know you responded to Manolis, but I would have to say, for years I've been getting emails from people from Greece saying, would you consider coming to Greece? And then once Brent got one of those emails, the light was on, and we were like going, well, this would be really cool to go have some fun and play this music for people. So I mean, I
kind of feel he heard we got together, and then that's when he contacted us. I don't know if we got together for any reason. I don't remember what the reason was.
I'm pretty sure we had the intention of that was the spark.
Yeah.
That was definitely. I mean, we were rehearsing and having those shows in order to go to Athens.
Yes.
So we played like 8 shows around Chicago or whatever to prepare for our gig in Athens. So we practiced about 6 times for the show we're going to play tonight.
Only this time you came back with Stephen Reimer on vocals.
Right.
Right. So how was he chosen?
I mean, I guess because he could do the job. We've known him since we were kids. So
He's been a fan
So
of
it's
the
all in
band.
the family.
right.
He's been a fan of the band too, and he probably has like the closest style of vocals, at least in an area that we know of, that kind of emulates John the closest, and for the exception of going a total direction, we want to try and keep it the same, obviously.
Well, we needed somebody that could sing any of those songs,
Yeah,
even
sure.
a
And
little bit.
was John not available at this point?
Yeah, he was. He lived in Las Vegas, and he pretty much. I don't think he was interested. I don't know.
No, he was. He couldn't leave Vegas for something.
Right.
he was some kind of house arrest in Vegas. Not house arrest, but
I don't even know what that story is.
it was
I have no
something
idea.
about he used to raise wild cats.
Okay.
And I think, I don't know, he either got a cat or he sold it, and he wasn't supposed to or something, so the city of Vegas said you can't leave for a certain amount of years or something like that. I don't know. That's at least what I was told.
So let's blame the city of Las Vegas.
Yeah, there you go. And that's kind of why, so yeah.
I have no. I flew out to see John in Vegas one year, and he met me at a Guitar Center, and he spent like 5 minutes with me. We didn't talk much about trying to produce any new music because we were just at a hug. And
Oh, you didn't? Actually, I was talking to him a while. He was talking.
No,
No, he went on this because we sent him a track, I think.
Right.
And then we kind of listened back and like, what the hell is this?
Right. I don't
Remember that one?
Right. Yeah, I do remember that. He sent some back that we couldn't quite make out.
Yeah, really.
We couldn't make out what he was trying to do on that song. But anyway, I don't really remember me personally being in part of any dialogue about whether he could come back. Maybe you talked.
Yeah, I talked to him a few times on the phone.
But I mean,
I think he called me after he met with you and he kind of got interested, but he's like, I can't.
John was an amazing human being, and
Yeah.
but I don't know that he was ever going to be able to come back and do that or not. I have no idea. But whatever path he was on, it didn't seem to include us.
Which kind of brings me to my next question. I mean, at this point, both John and Dave are gone, all right? Like,
Yeah.
What memories do you have of them?
Oh boy, there's so many. I mean, just
There's so many, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just partying at John's house. I mean, one of my favorite memories is going over to John's house, and while they were playing, when the band White Witch was happening, and I would be over there. This isn't even a memory of John. This is just about John memory.
Is that the circle?
Well, those are other stories, whatever, playing Dark Towers or whatever. I was never there for those, but leaving his house during a practice, John's mom would be sitting up there watching TV with us playing right below, and she goes, "Is the TV too loud for you boys down there?"
Yeah, he would come down and for White Witch practices, he would have it was a basement concrete floor, and he would paint a circle around the middle of the room. And he goes, "This is my circle. Nobody goes in this circle."
He used to do some.
And he
crazy
said,
shit
he said he got into black magic for a while there. He says, "Don't ever mess with that black magic." It was some. I mean, that was a beginning stage of all that, but it was definitely some memories I remember.
Dave Bono, the one thing I'll say about him is, when we were kids, we'd butt heads a lot. Well, I mean, you're in this band, the drummer's going to take some heat, meaning to get these songs out and translate them to a drummer. The one thing I'll say about Dave is what he was really good at is allowing, we would write a riff, and he would make a beat that fits the riff without the riff having to change, that's hard.
That is hard.
Or without being overplayed, in a sense.
He would make whatever he fit. We wouldn't have to rearrange our riff in order to make it fit his beat, because he couldn't quite get to what we wanted. He would always pull out something that made the riff still stay the way it was.
Right.
Which is, that was a miracle. I never appreciated him as much then as I do now listening back. It's weird how,
especially when you see what else is out there, drum-wise.
Right. I mean, Dave would, when he'd play out, man, he would, it'd be like pouring gasoline on the fire. That dude it'd be pedal to the metal and full on everything, sweating bullets when he's done. That dude would give it. So that's the memories I have.
But I think that's what kind of, if you put someone in like some crazy, high flashy drummer going crazy with us, I think it would just turn out to be like, unless it wouldn't be as commercially acceptable, I guess. I always wonder how so many people like the band, and they sing the lyrics, and it's almost kind of catchy, as crazy as the music is, kind of. You know what I mean?
Well,
so he kind of kept a nice solid foundation to let us do our thing, and then putting John in, he just had a knack for making something catchy over something weird, So.
Yeah, can't all go ballistic all the time, right?
No, exactly right. You got to have some.
So even though he had a certain level of ballistic, to him, it was still allowing the other notes to fly around him some. Yeah. So that was cool. It was cool. Very good.
How would you describe the band's activities within the last few years? Like, you kind of on and off. What's going on?
Well, you go ahead and answer.
Oh, I was going to say I've been doing shift the last year and a half, but.
Right. Well, reason we're playing right now is because some of us are turning 60, and we wanted to have a special party at a tavern near his home. So that's the spark right now. Of course, Rick, our drummer, he lives in Florida. He goes back and forth, and Steve's here. He'd be available, but we just technically aren't really officially doing anything. Really,
we're talking about it. I know.
We'd like to
keep. He wants to keep creating. I understand. We don't want to keep doing the same old crap all the time. We'd like to create. And we still got a lot of music that we haven't recorded. Some cool tunes like to bring back to life. We'd like to record some brand new, fresh stuff. But Yeah, with our drummer now, he's a snowbird, so in the wintertime he takes off and it makes it a little rough, you know, for us to keep rehearsing.
Keeping the songs fresh while
Keeping the
you're
songs
drumming.
fresh.
I have to sit here and play at home to remember, keep them. I don't know. I can't just remember all these notes and keep them there forever.
No.
Yeah, so what we do after the 14th, I'm not sure, but you know.
Well, keeping in mind that everyone's getting older, now it's the time to do it.
I agree. That's what I keep telling them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not anti doing it. It's
No,
just it's about, is it feasible to do? Are we going to be? I mean,
It'll be a discussion we have afterwards. You know, where
we
we
have to
want to
be
go
able
and how
to
we're
be
going to
together in order to do. I mean, we have to kind of be
Yeah.
available to do it. And if everybody's not kind of available, you know, whatever, even if it's once every 2 weeks or whatever the
Right.
routine is, somehow to keep life in it. You know, without it just. I mean, if I stop playing the songs, they
kind of fade away.
well, my ability to play them fades away too, because I don't play. You know, what I play in Reflexicon isn't require the same exact dexterity as what's going on in this band. So playing all these triplets or whatever they are,
Yeah.
you know, it's like
Keep the fire going.
right. It would be nice. I have no objections.
When you look back, what are you the most proud of from having been in this band?
Boy, go ahead, you first.
Well, I think, I don't know. When we started this band, we never knew if anybody's going to like it or not. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a weird question. I guess I'm proud of the band because it's got such a loyal fan base. You know, might not be huge, but we do have people know it, the name. You know, and they either love the band or they hate the band. You know, and I've known people older, you know, mothers, and my mom actually likes the band, you know. She's like, I don't know, how do you like this band? Why? But, you know, the strangest people actually love this band. You know, they might be into hip hop, but he still love this band. Like Joe's son, you know, he loves Slauter Xstroyes. But, yeah, so I'm just proud of that. I'm proud that we made a band that just was as unique as it is, and people accepted it, you know. Hey, you know, if we got 50 fans out there to dig it, that's cool, you know. And that's, I guess, what I'm proud about it.
There are bands out there that don't even have 50 fans, so.
What? Yeah, well, exactly. But
So, yeah.
you know, you can, especially now, you can talk around the world. You know, you got fans in Greece and Germany and all these different places. It's really cool. You know, they're like, oh, they know about us. You know, and it's unfortunate. 20 years later, it really blossomed into something. You know, and all, you know, now they want to reprint albums every year. Hey, I want to put out, you know, reprint the album again. You know, I'm like, really? You still guys want that? But,
I mean, I'm just mostly proud of the music and the friendships and you know, just, I mean, all of the, what was going on in the present moment while that was happening was
fun.
Yeah, I mean, coming to practice, the paddy wagon parties, you know, getting, you know, 80,
parties on every Friday.
80 people in spandex getting brought down to the police station. I can never be. You imagine what the
63rd
Chicago
Rockville,
cops,
yeah.
we get the Chicago cops get 3 or 4 paddy wagons showing dudes in spandex going, look at this lion over here. I mean, all these, I mean, that's priceless. You know, how can you, I mean.
Yeah, we had some really good parties. And we had this big warehouse in 22nd Halsted for many, many years. And just like every Friday, it'd be like a ritual. We do our mega practices on Mondays and Wednesdays, and Fridays we get together and we run the sets or whatever we had, and people come out and we just have a big bash and we just get bigger and bigger, you know.
Finally, so when you started this journey back in 1981, are you surprised to still be doing it in 2024?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just thankful to be alive.
Yeah.
But yes, it's still, you know.
And even though we're struggling a little bit now to play this stuff now, but as we get older and the arthritis kicks in, but.
One thing I gotta say though is that there's something that happens when the two of us make a song together. There is just something that happens. I don't know what it is. It could be his riffs and I come and bring my guitar to it, or my riff, and something happens when we make a song together. It doesn't matter. I mean, of course, the drumming and the singing matters, but the music that happens when we make music together, it just works, and it's just nice that still happens. I mean, that's why when we play, I'm like, oh, well, I really want to be creative.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, that's why I do this in the first place. Is it's
I'd love to be doing it.
No, I mean it's it's like crack or, you know, my heroin is making music. So, I mean, if I can't continue to do that, I don't want to stop. I mean, of course, I love to play the songs and share them with people, but I, you know, while we're doing that, I like to be, you know, expressing ourselves still today in our own way.
I mean, that's all I've been doing the last couple of years is, you know, now I got my own studio. I just recording, you know, my own stuff. So I'm writing all the time, you know, but it's by myself. But I kind of like, man, I kind of would like to have a band to write with, you know.
It's
You know,
just
it's cool
nice.
to do your own thing, but, you know, still to have other inputs and stuff like that and, you know, and creating stuff together. So, you know, hopefully we get to
I
that
pretty
point.
much don't write any songs from beginning to end by myself, and I can play you the ones that I have, and you'll understand.
Why?
No, I mean, there are definitely going to be quite a few separate parts put together into a song, and it's just lucky when they all seem to flow together. When you work with a group, it seems to just happen better. You get other ideas happening.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
Little bridges, little
And
pieces.
whatever. That's just when we make a song. I mean, we haven't done it in quite a few years, but the last two we did were pretty fucking spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, the one's just an instrumental at this point, but
Yeah, I'd love to
it
make
kicks
something of that.
it kicks ass. So anyway, proud of that song, and Psycho Killer came out great.
Mhm.
I mean, Steve sounds. I mean, I think he sounds
Yeah, it
fantastic.
sounds really good on that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's, you know, bottom line though is if you have a group of people like, you know, we weren't successful at getting lyrics to the song, the other song. I hate to call it a name because it doesn't really have a official name, but I mean, you know, not every song is going to be appropriate for Steve's creation. You know what I mean? It's maybe that song is just not, you know, in his week.
Well, yeah, it's not that Steve can't write it. It's just
Just didn't happen yet.
it's not. It's not, you know, it's hard to capture that same essence that John Stewart had. He just had a knack for writing over the stuff that we do.
I don't think he paid attention to what we were doing.
But yeah, but somehow he made it work.
He
You know,
would
it was the
soar over the
craziest
top.
thing, yeah.
He would soar over the top of
Yeah,
it.
he had made him
So we haven't figured-
somehow to put a hook in there. You know, I don't know.
We didn't figure that out with this song yet. And all I was trying to say is that maybe, you know, if you have 10 pieces of music, the singer may not click with one of those pieces of music. Maybe sometimes you get an idea, you're writing a song, and you can't unlearn this idea, you know, because it's time stamped, and then, you know, you're writing this idea, and it's not quite, it doesn't ever quite get done because.
Well, like Witch's Honor, I think Steve did a great job.
Oh,
on
that sounds kick-ass.
And he thinks it's boring, and we're like, no, it's not boring. It sounds good. So sometimes you got to rein him in a little bit. But sorry, Steve.
That was how it is.
It's. I mean, I think that I don't know if that was. I mean, I don't know if it's the Witch's Honor from my basement party. Was there? People,
I think that was from the
is there
basement party,
people
yeah.
cheering
Yeah.
at the end of the song?
Yeah.
So that was, you know, when we played at my house, I was always multi-tracking. You know, this is modern times. You know, 2009 or whatever. So that's from.
Yeah, the track should turn out pretty clean, and he sang really well on it. So.
Yeah, he's got some, and there's some crazy ass killer notes in there that he's singing too. Some weird. I mean, I don't even. But I have to listen to it to go listen to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, he does some kick ass shit in there. Song's insane.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
It was fun.
Metal.